How's it going, movie fans? My name is Jonathan, and I'm a man of movies. And welcome to the Loki live stream, where we're going to talk all things Loki, spoilers, general thoughts, some theories we may be having. And you know, it's never, how do I say this? I can't do this by myself, basically, because I always need my co-host with me, Dan from the Upside Dan. What's up, Dan? Dan, I can't hear you, man. It's the Upside Dan. Classic Upside Dan. It's all good. Hey, we got some people here. Hey, my wife is here. Hi, babe. All right, so while Dan figures that out, we have a special guest with us today. We have been advertising him all day. And not only is he a great content creator, but he is also a great friend of mine. It is Burja Rocar. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? Am I coming through? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you great. I can hear you great.
All right, thank goodness. All right, that's good. And I hope that Dan gets us all stuff has worked out. It's being in the Upside Dan that's probably making it tough.
I like that. And I think you're quite right there. I think it's just being in the Upside Dan. Or it could just Dan being Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. You could just be pulling a fast one on.
Let's see. Hey, Dan, what's up?
Hey, can you hear me?
He's in.
The TVA. I think the TVA was messing with my thing or something.
I think you weren't.
They don't like what we're about to be talking about here.
Yes.
I don't think you were supposed to be on this live stream, so they try to take you out.
Yep.
So we do have a lot of. Say that again, Jace.
Dan, are you a variant?
I don't know.
So we do have a couple people here I want to say hi to. We got Eric Thorpe. What's up, man? He says, Jace in a video with someone other than me. We'll be getting pretty used to that. Super pumped for the stream. Thank you, Eric. Happy to have you here. And of course, the master of live streams himself, Rob. What is up, my friend? Awesome to see you here. Cinema Critic Reviews. Hey, man, what a surprise. Appreciate you being here. Let's see. I think I saw my brother. Here's my brother, Angel.
Hey,
What's
Angel.
up, bro? I hope you're ready to talk all things spoilers. And of course, Sean. What is up, man?
Hey, Sean.
Happy to see you. Dan was able to make it. Happy face. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. All right, guys. So before we get into the spoiler talks of Loki, the first thing we want to do is just give our overall general thoughts of what we thought about the show. And Jace, I want to give it to you with you being our special guest.
Well, I feel so honored to start the whole thing off. I appreciate it. And also just want to say thanks for everyone that's shown up so far. When I get a chance to say hi. General thoughts is like the episode. I thought that it was like overall still enjoyable as far as I say still because the first episode was good. I just think that maybe I fairly can say all of us can agree that I think we stand on the same page of not sure if it's like as great as all the hype made it seem to be, but still good, still enjoyable. And this one was a nice kind of progression and yet not at the same time is kind of like how I feel. It felt very much like just an extension of the first episode, more so than like its own separate second episode. But I mean, I'll put it this way. Still enjoyed it. Still got a kick out of it. Of course, looking forward to where it goes next. But that's probably the best way I'd sum it up quickly is like I kind of was hoping it was going to take things forward a bit more without asking for too much too early. But we're talking about a 6-episode series here.
Yeah, Dan, you have anything to add on that?
I pretty much have the same thoughts. I did like it a little better. I thought it was a little bit of an improvement over the first episode, but I still don't agree with all the hype for these first 2 episodes.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree with both of you here. So before we even came on here, we knew nothing about each other's thoughts, and I think we're all in agreement that, and Jace, I like how you put it, there was progression, but at the same time, there wasn't progression. That's a great way of putting it. And Dan, also with this hype for Loki, with these first 2 episodes coming out and the reviewers having seen them already, the critics already having seen them and saying it was just amazing. It's the best thing they've seen in Marvel so far. I've yet to see that, but I have seen a very good progression of a show. That's all I can say about this episode, without getting into the story details and spoilers and whatnot.
I know there's
Yep.
so many things that as soon as you mention it, it's just spoilers.
Exactly. Which is why I'm not gonna hold back anymore. Let's just get into spoilers, guys. I can't. Come on. These Marvel shows, I don't know how people are even able to do regular reviews of them. They're so spoiler filled, you know. So, what are your thoughts on holding out for a hero? Jace.
On my thoughts on holding out for a hero?
Yeah, holding out for a hero. It was the intro when they go to the Renaissance Fair in 1985.
Oh. Gosh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't catch the immediate reference. Yeah, man, just like the opening sequence, I don't know. I have like, I thought it was fun. I thought it reminded me a lot actually of like, you notice how, well, okay, so now we're in spoiler talk. You notice how like female Loki pulled a little bit of a Wanda trick, as far as I feel like, I mean, I know Loki does similar stuff, but the way it was done came off seeming like Wanda would have done something like that, right? Did the whole Scarlet Witch tap someone and then they get like, oh, but that was enjoyable. It was like a fun sequence and everything. I think obviously it was like a little bit of I don't know. I don't want to say obvious. I'm not going to say I called it right away. For what it's worth, I give you a lot of credit on calling the female part, but I think like little parts of that scene slowly started to point signs to like, all right, I guess maybe this is not just another Tom Hiddleston.
I like that. Yeah. You just got me thinking about something else, Chase, with saying how that reminded you of Wanda. We get a lot of hints on Nexus events, Nexus level events. And then, as you know, because you have PTSD from WandaVision, Wanda was a Nexus level threat, right?
Yeah, they in an advertisement they said Nexus. So, but yeah.
Is Lady Loki a Nexus level threat?
Maybe.
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Agree with you. Can I tell you something though? That intro didn't work for me too much.
I thought it was too. I wish they used more of the song. I thought it could have been more epic. I don't know. Yeah, I liked the song though. It reminded me of Shrek 2, so it's not as good as Shrek 2, but yeah, it was good.
A lot of things are not as good as Shrek 2, Dan.
Yeah.
I can agree on that. But I think it didn't pack that punch I thought that song could pack because of movies like Shrek 2 using them and utilizing that song so well. And then we get this intro where I don't know what it was, Jace, that just it didn't really, oh wow, like I can't wait for the rest of this episode. That song added nothing to me, and it was kind of like cheesy just to let people know, hey, we're in the 80s, guys. And if you didn't know, here's an 80s song. I liked more what you said, the Wanda-like mind control thing. If it was a more serious take of that without trying to be so on the nose of we're in the 80s, guys, if you didn't know. You know?
Yeah, it could have taken a little bit more of like almost like a creepy element or turn, you know, like this has been very much pitched as like it could be a horror like show, and there are quite a few elements that prove that it could be in that range. And I think, yeah, this was like a missed opportunity on that, because you're right, it seemed very campy. I guess it's one of those, like, that's why I kind of didn't even catch the reference at first, is because I noticed the song, but I was just more so caught up in, I guess, other elements that, for what it's worth, it seems like it was a back note. And I guess that's just to prove that they didn't really use that song effectively, because it didn't really stand out that much to me.
Yes.
Then, do we think there is some sort of symbolism with that song?
That's a good point. I never thought about it until Jay said that. It could be. And I also think another thing that maybe didn't make the intro work is because they were obviously trying to hide the identity that it's a female Loki. So they could only do so many shots without, showing the face.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no way that before we get the reveal of female Loki, that was female Loki. That was a male actor under that cloak until the end, right? Can we agree?
Yeah, I would say so. Honestly, I feel like that's what it was for the first episode too. The little stinger at the end. I mean, that just did you okay, there's a significant difference in the size of the hooded cloak that she's wearing between the first episode and when she has her reveal. Like when she actually walks out to reveal herself, you can tell the moment you see it, it's like, oh, that's a chick.
Yes, 100%. I saw that. Just a little nitpick, I guess. That's not that big of a deal. Dan, Eric says that you hate Loki. Is that true?
No, I just don't like the character as much as everyone else in the MCU and the fans do. I still like him. I'm just not as big of a fan as everyone else seems. Everyone else seems to love him. So that probably is also what I didn't, why I'm not enjoying the show as much as everyone else as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that you didn't like him as much as
I did like him. I like him enough,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Eric also says, so full disclosure, I didn't notice that scene was in the 80s until my second watch. Yeah, at first I thought it was like mid 1600s.
Yeah, I do like that it was at a Renaissance fair, though. I've been to quite a few Renaissance fairs, so as soon as I saw that, I thought it was great. I love how like seriously they were taking the outfits. Like the one girl was just like, "Some of us need this." I was like, that just really hit my funny bone.
Yeah, that was good.
So Jace, you've dressed up in those Renaissance fairs before, I'm guessing.
Actually, no. I'm one of the people that does walk around in normal clothes. I just really love the atmosphere and like actually being there. Like I'll talk, in ye old terms every now and again, but I haven't actually dressed up before.
Okay, cool. And Eric is just messing around with you, Dan. We know Eric. It's all good, my friend. So after the sequence, we get Loki in the TVA, and he's talking to Miss Minutes. And they kind of just spew this sort of universe building exposition of this what is a nexus thread, and they kind of just spew it out. Did you catch any of that, Jace? Because I didn't. It's a bit confusing and complicated.
So like what she was trying to tell or make sure he knew, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Do you know what was trying to be said?
So she was basically saying, all right, you know how episode 1 they show that little animated snippet that says, if a Nexus event goes past this line, like it's showing all the lines of the stuff or whatever. So she mentions that if an event crosses past, she just calls it the red line, I believe. But so if it passes that, it means the TVA can't reset that. So it's like they're screwed. You know what I mean? It's past the point of fixing. So that's where there's actually a moment in the sequence when following when Mobius and Loki and all them go back to that moment in 1985 where they're saying we're running out of time. It's because the line of the variancy is about to cross the red line. That's why they're like, we gotta go, hurry up.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. And the TVA would not be people to be able to reset a whole separate timeline. That'd be up to the timekeepers. So that's why the TVA can't reset it. I like that. Yeah. I didn't catch it. There's something about complicated time travel jargon that always loses me. Endgame, I saw it 3 times in theaters. And while each time I did understand it a bit more, in the end, I still think Back to the Future has the best explanation of time travel.
Even if the only credit I will give Endgame, because I agree with you, it gets so convoluted so quickly. At least there was the moment in Endgame where Hulk starts to explain the stuff where he's like, hey, look, if you go back and change something in the past, it doesn't change this timeline we're in. It creates a new timeline. But I mean, yeah, no matter what, it always gets confusing, right? I mean, we could sit here and try to make sense of it all day long and probably just be like, I think I got it.
That's really all we can say about it. If I don't know what it is with shows just wanting to make things so complicated. I can't see the MCU really, especially this show with the type of complicated nature that it has with time travel, really having kids on board. Because I can only imagine my siblings, bro. They're just gonna turn their brain off the moment they start hearing complicated time travel jargon. And if it is a really important part of this show, they're gonna lose out on people kind of just like, oh, like this is not making sense. I'm already seeing memes of people making fun of the time travel in the MCU and how much it doesn't make sense.
It is something they're taking a bit of a risk with. A good buddy of mine pointed out, and I thought this was a good point because me personally, I'm so biased. I love the multiverse. I have always been a fan of that in the comics. It's one of the things I look forward to the most. So I have like this naturally positive attitude about it. But a buddy of mine pointed out, he was like, man, they got to really take it easy because they're kind of dumping all of their apples into one basket, so to speak. Like between WandaVision starting to get to the multiverse type stuff, this show talking about it, Spider-Man No Way Home, in the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, there are a lot of projects that are surrounding themselves with this stuff. And again, that could be great. I'm looking forward to it all, but I agree, right, that you have to take into consideration it is a lot, and there are certain people that may have a hard time following it because it, like we just said, it gets really convoluted and mixed up quickly, and there's so many loopholes.
Yeah, it's the loopholes that get me, you know?
Well,
All
yeah,
right,
because it's like once you acknowledge one, all of a sudden it's like, well, you can't look at it the same. You can't really appreciate it for what it is. All of a sudden, certain things that were impactful and big moments are meaningless. Kind of like how they did with the Infinity Stones of the TVA, right? You build up a whole 3 phases to basically say, hey, these are the most powerful things in the universe. Not.
psych.
Yeah, yeah, I still got kind of mixed emotions about that.
I do too. Let's get to some comments real quick, Jace. So Eric goes, man, I would love to go to Renaissance Fair with you guys, especially if it was Game of Thrones themed. Jace,
Ooh.
would you go with Eric?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, yes, right. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Eric's my dude. I would definitely think that would probably be my favorite Renaissance Fair ever if it was Game of Thrones themed. Just for what's what I would go nuts for people to be like walking around as White Walkers.
Well, like Eric says, that might not be a Renaissance Fair though. I guess it'll just be a Game of Thrones convention.
Hey, it's close enough to a Renaissance Fair, right? They got all of the very same similar attributes. I mean, hey, I think it'd be fair to just call it like a crossover.
Yeah. True. I don't think so though. I think it'll just be a Game of Thrones convention.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, it's more so you're just kind of calling it whatever you want at that point, But yeah, if you want to be super technical, no, it'd just be like a people walking around in a live Game of Thrones setting.
Dang, the TVA got 10 again.
I know. I didn't want to stop in the middle of stuff, but I was just like, the multiverse snatched him up.
Yeah, dude, I think so. And then he's in the comments now. The TVA got me again. I'm so sorry, guys. I'll try to get on in a few. Yeah, try to get some Infinity Stones on the way out, bro, because they do work once you get out of the TVA.
And while you are making your way out, ask Mobius to say, wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. To be fair, as much as Endgame is a great movie, but time travel basically by definition can't really make sense. You're right, Eric. You're absolutely right. Time is a concept. We're just trying to make sense of life. So we make up numbers to know when the sun goes up and go. Jace.
You made me think of something. It's not to stay away from the comments, but it is in dealing with the episode. Man, that scene where Mobius and Loki sat down and talked about what their beliefs on life are was such a deep conversation. And I'm sorry, that part just made me think about it quick. I loved that, right? As far as, him making fun of Mobius because you think space lizards are really what rule you. He's like, where do you come from? A frost giant? And he's like, yeah, you're talking about gods and frost giants. Listen how silly you are. And it's just it is. I think that's actually a great mirroring real life. That's something that when you take away the whole superhero show aspect of that could be translated very much to real life about how why we, and I'm not trying to make this a whole entire different subject, but why we shouldn't maybe be so quick to judge or hate on each other for certain things. Because just because you may think something is real or believe certain things that I don't, right? It's just yeah, but what I believe may sound just as silly to you. I just thought that was a really cool little part. It may have been one of my favorite things that they snuck into that episode.
I agree with you. That was actually one of my points that I wanted to talk about. Definitely, let's get into this. the whole sovereign rule versus free will, what is it? Do the timekeepers hold sovereign rule over all of us, and everything we do has been predestined and it doesn't matter? Or is there free will? And Mobius is trying to say there's a little of both, but Loki's trying to argue against that. And then the whole conversation of our beliefs sound silly to someone, you know, and we're just trying to make sense of this life. I like the whole where do you come from? Oh, a frost giant. Oh yeah, I was adopted by Odin, the Norse god of mythology. But it's so true. It's so true that not to start anything, but look at it in a real world sense. You got evolution versus religion. In evolution, if people try to explain it as one day a fish got out of water, grew legs, became a monkey, and then here we are, it sounds silly. And on the other hand, when you say there's a big bearded guy in the sky that made me out of dust and he made women out of my ribs, that also sounds silly. It very much resonates with our society, and I want more of this in Marvel. This is something that I thought was really lacking in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because WandaVision did deal with real world issues like grief. And now we're getting Loki dealing with this issue of does what we do in life even matter?
It is, yeah. It's a good way to put it. And I agree that like Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think they tried to do that, and it just felt way more forced. It did not fit organically with like the rest of the show. Like I think they took all of their messages that they wanted to portray like this and just shoved it all into the finale, and it just didn't really fit that well. I mean, there were certain things plugged in throughout, and I still very much like the show, but yeah, that one didn't feel like as fitting. This one, it's nice because what I can appreciate is this. I actually am usually not a fan of when they shove real life stuff like this into shows like this. I mean, to be honest, right? It's one of those where it's like, hey, look, if this is a fake fabricated scenario full of characters that are not real whatsoever, then I want to enjoy that. I don't need them to be mirroring what I'm going through. However, with that being said, I do enjoy the way they're doing it here because they're not trying to in your face say this is what we're saying. It's just this fits the show. It just so happens to also be something that you could look at in a different light and respect like we are right now and say, man, look at how this translates to real life. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's a lot to unpack, Jace. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can imagine where it's like, okay, what do I say from there?
But it's still good insight and discussion nonetheless, because I've never mind having real world stuff in my content as long as it's executed well. And real quick to touch on your Falcon and Winter Soldier parts, it did feel very forced to me, especially I think for me was the scene where Sam gets stopped by the cop because he's black. And it's just, where was this in Winter Soldier? Where was this in Civil War? Where was this in Avengers Infinity War? Where was this in Endgame? Where was this in all the other Marvel movies? And out of nowhere, now he's battling racism. Racism's a real thing. I get it. But now Sam is battling racism out of nowhere. Sam, the character, is.
Right. Exactly. That's what it's just, and I feel bad. It's one of those, like, you know, you have to like worry about saying anything about it, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's just when you call it like it is, it's not like hating on the actual aspect of what that subject is. That is a great subject to tackle. And for what it's worth, they tackled it well, except for the fact that, like you just said, it wasn't established anywhere before that. So it felt so shoehorned in there. I mean, the fact that he's one of the heroes that doesn't wear a mask, and you're going to try and have me believe that some police did not recognize who he is. Like, I just don't. I didn't buy that whatsoever.
All that to say that Loki did good with this philosophical, this philosophical conversation we're having now, and I want more of it. I want to find out: is it really sovereign rule versus free will? Real quick.
This was the last part on that specific subject, was like more in the show of like Loki, the vein of that, right? Dude, it seems as though there isn't free will based on the way Mobius was saying it. Here's why. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. is he describes it as the plan is that eventually the timekeepers will be done unraveling all of the stuff, and Loki's like, so then what, right? He says, what's the end? And Mobius is like, well, then once they finish, then it's done and the TVA's job is done and there's no more variants and everything's all good. Well, saying that is indirectly saying that eventually we're building to where there is no free will. Eventually we're building to a point where things are so locked in place that no matter, like, there is nothing you could do that would cause a variant. We have no job anymore. Oh, okay, so we no longer have a choice in anything. I feel like that was just that was him saying no free will without saying no free will.
I like that. But it also makes me think that we might get some twists in this series where we find out that they were never really in charge anyway. And they kind of brainwashed the TVA to think they will always be in charge. What you do, it's like I'm saying, Jace, just so you know, in the next 2 seconds, you're going to stay on this stream and talk to me. I'm right. I'm your sovereign ruler, right? But I'm not though. But I'm not. But
let me exit the stream.
Real quick, we went overboard on that one, but I loved it. Let's get to some comments.
Yeah,
Eric, I feel like they've earned this multiverse explosion, though. I mean, we're over a decade into this franchise with most years having 2 to 3 movies in that time. I agree with him. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't disagree with that point at all, man. It's if they would have started off like this, DC, then it wouldn't have been as fitting. But by all means, they have definitely at least earned the right to start doing this type of stuff.
Oh no, Jace, you said DC. Now Eric's gonna type like 10 messages how he disagrees with you.
Hey, I love the DC, right? I don't know why I said the. I love DC. Like I'm one of those people when people ask, are you a Marvel or a DC person? It's like I feel like that's an unfair question. I got so much love for both of them, it's not even funny. But let's call an issue an issue here, and the live action side of DC, which would be a whole nother video, is not cutting it right now, and they should not be jumping so quick into a Flashpoint movie.
Maybe that will be another video.
There you go.
Eric, do you guys think they're going to pull the rug out from under us with the timekeepers a la Wizard of Oz? That's what I just said.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Actually, I will say, because I agree with both of you on this. So I covered the show as well, and I did an episode 1 review where, by all means, I suspected that one of the people that they were hinting at might be in here. I know Mephisto was a big joke and kind of rose up again, and guess you can't rule anything out. But there's a character called Nightmare that he's apparently the confirmed villain for Doctor Strange 2, and I would not be surprised if, like, Mobius was Nightmare personified, and then and the TVA was just his whole setup, because he's the ruler of the dream dimension. How could it make, it would fit that he just created this whole thing?
You got me so excited, Jace, because that was one of my theories. That's one of my theories.
Yes.
Mobius is not a good guy. We'll get there. Let me get through the comments. It all started with the Mandarin, of course. Yeah, they really pulled the rug from under us there, Eric. Loki, I already like a good bit more than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I can agree with that. But don't agree that it's already as good or better than WandaVision. Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
No, it's got some room to grow still before we can start talking in that regard.
And my wife goes, it does look like it's not free will, but I'm excited to find out what they do with that. Yeah. I think that's going to be something that they're really going to tackle in this show. Eric, I'm with you. This is feeling like something out of the Wizard of Oz, and the TVA is just the Emerald City.
Yeah.
Dude.
I love that analogy. Oh my God.
Hey, Mitchell, the movie man. What's up, Mitchell? Happy to have you here. WandaVision was awesome. I thought, hey, we all think that, my friend.
Overall, yeah, it was a great show. There was, as far as a first entry to a Marvel series, they picked the right one to kick it off with. I know there are certain mixed emotions when it first came out, but long story short, that was a great way to set the tone for what this whole entire phase seems to be panning out to right now.
Absolutely. I do want to navigate the conversation toward Mobius.
Okay.
Jace. Jace, my
Yeah.
man, you took my theory from me, but it's your theory now. This is Jace's theory, everyone. Jace did this. Let's give him the screen. Jace did this. Woo! I agree with you, bro. Mobius is not a good guy. That's just a theory. Just a theory. Mobius is not a good guy. I think there is something lying under Mobius, especially because I think he is just too similar to Loki, who is a villain, right? By definition, Loki is a villain. And he is too much like Loki for me to think that he is good. I think each Marvel show so far has had this villain or surprise villain. We got Agatha Harkness. I think Mobius is the one here. I do think Mephisto will be the joke, the running joke of the MCU from now on. If we get him, thumbs up. But I really think it's just going to be a running joke now. But with that Nightmare plug in that first episode, with Nightmare being the supposed villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, there's something off with Mobius, and I don't care if he likes jet skis. That doesn't take me off his trail, man. It doesn't take me off. Oh wow, he likes jet skis, everyone. He's so likable.
No,
Jace,
they purposely got that in there to win you over, right? It's just like with, I mean, I think Agatha was much more like, you could tell right off the bat, like, yo, something ain't right about this lady, like she's way too perfect. But he, yeah, very much falls in the same vein of like, they're trying so hard to make him likable. And I think obviously they got a good shot because it's Owen Wilson. He's just naturally likable. But at the end of the day, it seems as though the story is really pushing you to like, you want to like this guy, right? You want to trust this guy. You have no reason to go against this guy. And I think that, yeah, at some point or another, it's just going to be one of those good old, just, I've actually been this person all along.
Jace, you're right. I will happily give you my sword, my friend, for that awesome theory. You're right. Oh, I don't know what to say, bro. It's too obvious because, like you said, Owen Wilson is known for being likable. That's literally Owen Wilson. He's known for being the guy that says wow, and he's known for being the most likable guy in Hollywood. One of. There's something here, bro. There's something brewing with him.
And I bet you they are relying on the fact of, oh, they're not going to do that again. In the sense of like how we're talking about Agnes becoming Agatha right now, I bet you they're like banking on the fact that there's fans sitting there going like, well, there's no way they would do that again. It's like, oh, that's what you think.
Absolutely. Marvel's going to do it again. And I will put all my coins in the same bag. It is Mobius. I'm with you, bro. I am with you. And we'll get into it soon. There's something about Lady Loki that makes me think she's not the main villain. Anyway.
Oh, wait, I was gonna say, yeah, because what if the whole purpose is we just find out that the whole entirety of this is just for Loki and female Loki to work together to take down Mobius because he's actually the big bad.
Hold that thought, my friends.
That's connecting here, man.
Eric says, Jace, that's an awesome theory about Mobius, but Dan will not want to hear it. Dan doesn't like theories. Is that what you're trying to say? Eric, I think that's what he's trying to say. He got PTSD after WandaVision, the whole Mephisto thing.
Hey, I'm right there with the masses, okay? Ralph Boner, I still want to just, like, I gag every time I think about the fact that came up. I don't want to acknowledge that it exists. It's really annoying. If it wasn't for the fact that I love Evan Peters so much, I would be really, really upset, like even more upset than I am. That was such a missed opportunity, man. Such a missed opportunity.
Boner.
His delivery of that line was good, but it's just, that doesn't make up for it, though.
Mitchell the movie man. Ooh, it would be interesting if that's true. I think that's concerning your theory, Jace. Absolutely, Mitchell. Absolutely. And then Eric's just correcting himself. Eric also says it was Mobius all along.
That's great, Eric. That is great.
My brother says, I was actually thinking about that of Mobius. Oh, nice, Goldo. We got to talk about that once you guys come back from vacation because that's interesting. And my wife appreciates your joke, Eric. I do too. We all did. That was awesome, bro. He also says,
on the charts.
this is the first Loki theory I've heard that has me invested. I will be disappointed if it doesn't pan out, but I'm going all in on my hope. Then hop on the theory train with us. Yes, Eric, I'm so happy. Look at you, Jace. You're making an impact already. People are just ride or die with my friend Jace. Eric, yeah, in PTSD for Dan, unfortunately. Now,
to do theories, it's still okay, right? We will carry on, as even though we were saying time is a thing we've made up, but it will heal those wounds, Dan.
Well, speaking about Dan, he's back from the TVA, people. Oh! He was a variant this whole time because he didn't have his Avengers jacket. He didn't have his Avengers jacket. We should have known.
Path, Dan, right? You're not a variant anymore. That's what we're getting at.
Yes.
I want to move us into our thoughts in the apocalypse segment of the show. Loki ends up finding out that this variant Loki is hiding in apocalypses because since these civilizations are going to be ending anyway, you can do whatever you want and it wouldn't disrupt the timeline because they're going to end anyway. Then we get to the apocalypse. I will say this before I give it to you guys. I wanted so much more and I'm so mad we only got one real apocalypse and one fake one. Dan, with you coming back, what are your thoughts?
So actually, I loved that, the aspect of it, the idea of it, that I thought it was really cool. And I for the most part liked it. I think I liked it more than you. But yeah, no, I hope we see more of that. And I want to see more, of that because that was a really cool part of this episode and probably honestly one of my favorite ideas of Loki so far. Yeah. Jace.
I think honestly, it kind of calls back to John. I believe you were saying this from episode 1 that they didn't really have a lot of set pieces, right? It feels like a very contained filming and everything. And I'm not kidding. I feel like that's what I picked up in this as well, because it did seem like, they had a good opportunity to go to different places. Heck, when they first brought this up, I'm like, dude, we're going back to Ragnarok. I was like, they're gonna take us to that movie, and we're gonna see Thor pop up quick. Like, I just thought that was such another missed opportunity of why would you start there if that's not what you're going to bring up? If you already know you're going to go somewhere else, don't even bring that up, because now that's just a bit of a tease. And at the end of the day, I don't know. I just think that that's somewhere I didn't expect them to spend a heck of a lot of time there. But they could have done more than just strictly Pompeii and then here's a fake hurricane that takes place in some years to come.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jace. I'm with you. What a missed opportunity. I did think that in that first episode, the reason the sets were contained was a more metaphorical way of telling us that Loki feels contained in this TVA. But then this episode proves to me that's not the case. You could do so much with this apocalypse setting. And then not only do they go to Pompeii, but Pompeii is the smallest Pompeii I've seen in my life. I think Night in the Museum 3, that also has Owen Wilson, has a better set of Pompeii. And I'm throwing it back. I don't know if anybody's seen the third Night in the Museum movie, but there's a scene of Owen Wilson's cowboy character in a diorama of Pompeii as the volcano is exploding. That set was bigger than this. And it's only proving to the fact that I don't know if it's budgetary constraints because it's freaking Marvel, but why is it so small? Why are you, hopefully is what I'm trying to say, we get more. And this show will be a little bit of apocalypse here in episode 4, apocalypse in episode 5, some in episode 6. Because if this was the only episode where we get to touch on apocalypses, that's lame. I do also would want to see a Ragnarok moment where Loki sees everything happen and we get a Chris Hemsworth cameo, that would be amazing.
Yeah, why not? Because it just seems like, I mean, it's not like, normally what you're dealing with a TV show where it's like, oh, we don't know how we would crisscross the schedules with that type of stuff. We don't even know the people that work on the movies. This is all under the same umbrella. You have perfect access to it. And I did at least just want to throw in real quick when you're saying like the smallest Pompeii. Yeah, man, it reminded me of like a set that you would see going to like Universal Studios. Like, hey, this is Pompeii, and then it just shows you that. I don't know. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
Pompeii was part of the tram tour at Universal Studios.
Was it the same size?
Probably. All right, let's get into some comments. Eric, whoa, Dan, I thought you weren't even in your house before. Were you? Was that a different Dan? I think it was, Eric. I think that was a variant Dan. You will know the real Dan by his Avengers hoodie. So if he doesn't have a hoodie, that is a variant Dan.
Yes. Yeah.
I need one, by the way. You got to send me one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually thinking about trying to buy a variant jacket, but I thought it looked super cool. It looks so cool in this episode, and I want it.
Yeah, it does look cool.
Eric says, I'm feeling the TV budget. Eric says, I'm feeling the TV budget more and more with the MCU shows, despite them supposedly having budgets close to many of the movies. WandaVision, I noticed it less. I'm not sure if that's just because of the story. Yes, Eric, I do think it's because of the story in WandaVision, because it is just sitcoms, so you don't have to, explode your budget. But we agree with you, bro. The TV budget is very noticeable here. I didn't really notice it too much on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it cements it in this season of Loki so far. What do you think, Jace?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, this is something where it's kind of the most surprising. Like, out of everything, especially given the fact that I know it's not Marvel, but it's still in the Disney umbrella. Like, when Mandalorian came out, granted, there's a lot of maybe episodes where you could kind of say here and there, just feels like a simplistic set piece and whatever with the show, but they did a great job of making that feel like it was just a long Star Wars movie. And I think that, with this, there's certain times where it's fit and everything. And I guess we're still at kind of the beginning, but this is like technically the first third that's done. And I don't know. It feels very, very contained.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't notice it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Really at all, because I mean that one you had a lot of flying action scenes and a lot of different locations, and but WandaVision, it was the stories, and I love it, so that was fine. And but this one I'm noticing there's not a lot of locations yet, but it's a third of the way through already, so I hope we get more.
Agreed. Eric, Dan, did you hear Jace's Mobius theory?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Jace, you have 10 seconds.
Okay, so basically, Dan, what we're looking at is Nightmare, a character from the comics, is actually Mobius. So he's like the ruler of the dream dimension, and he's the TVA isn't real. He's making the whole thing up, and he's making Loki believe it for some reason, and the end is going to be him and female Loki fighting against Mobius, who, again, is actually Nightmare. Is that 10 seconds?
I like it.
Jay, I could give you a sticker, bro. I wish. Awesome.
Yeah, I like that theory a lot. Yeah, that's a good one.
I think that was better than my Loki, Lady Loki theory. That was way better.
Yes. I don't want to think about Nightmare though, or Mephisto. So. But yeah.
Well, to be fair, so Dan, and because I understand, I know I wouldn't normally want to be shooting so high, but it's because there's like very, very heavy. I don't want to say, I guess it is confirmed, but I'm like nearly certain it's confirmed that Nightmare is the villain in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if it was confirmed, but maybe. Yeah, I don't. I didn't hear that before today, but yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I'm with you, Jace. I'm pretty sure it is.
I think because they were talking to like one of the guys that wrote, they either directed the first one or something, and he was the one that threw it out there. But anyway.
Eric says, I love the Pompeii scene, even though I agree that I would have liked more. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it was really fun to go to Pompeii. I just wish it wasn't so small a scale of Pompeii and wasn't just a throwaway scene just to prove a point to Loki. And my brother writes, I actually had another theory about Mobius possibly being the variant that they're hunting and him having to work with female Loki, to make it less obvious.
I thought about that. I thought, what if Mobius is the other, another person working with the bad guy? That I thought about that.
Golo, what a freaking theory. Jace, you have some real competition on these theories because that was awesome. I don't know which way I am leaning toward, but Owen Wilson being the variant that they're hunting down and him working with female Loki, is there a possibility that that's why they're both blonde? Jace.
I wasn't sure if that was a sarcastic comment or not, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I was wondering.
No, I think I'll put it this way. I think that the idea of Mobius being a double agent is a very plausible thought, right? I think that maybe him being the variant, I'm not too sure of, because otherwise I don't really understand how the TVA wouldn't have managed to track him down, though he does know all the maybe ways to get around them, so to speak. But I do think that the possibility of like him working with female Loki is totally something that actually might be a real legit thing, and that would like cause some issues. Like maybe it's something that Mobius is pointing her in the right direction, and he's kind of just like dragging it out on purpose, making it seem like he's doing a case so that it's buying them time to do whatever it is that she started to do at the end of this episode.
Okay. I totally understand your point, Jace, but the fanboy in me just wants to see something happen with Owen Wilson. For me, it's just the blonde hair.
He's got gray hair in here, though.
No, he's blonde, right, Dan?
That's pretty good, man.
Maybe it's because I'm colorblind.
No,
someone pull up a picture of Mobius.
There were
some shots, in the comments again.
But I mean, Owen Wilson is blonde, but
all right. So before we get to our last point, let me get through some comments. Eric, why do you think up until now Marvel said WandaVision, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness were a 3-part story? But no, it sounds like Loki's very much a part of that as well. Okay.
Yeah, they might have
white hair, by the way, white hair. Okay, I'll trust you. Okay. All right, Jace. I'll give you some leeway there.
It was still a good theory all around too by your brother, by the way. That was a dope thought. And then I would like it if he was not Mobius. Long story short, that'd be interesting. But
so I want to touch on Eric's thing real quick here, just real quick before we get to our very last point. He does say that it sounds like Loki's part of this 3-part story they're trying to tell. And that's a thought I was having after the episode. Why is Loki not being brought up by Kevin Feige of being a part of this 3-part multiverse story, where by the end of this show, the multiverse literally goes into madness? Let's start with Dan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just at the time, because he said this months ago, he didn't want to spoil anything about Loki. But no, as we've seen commercials, it looks like, and now as we've seen the first 2 episodes, it does look like it could be a part of the multiverse story. But yeah, maybe he just doesn't want to spoil it still. I don't know though. It does seem like it's going to be a part of it though.
Jace.
I almost feel like I would argue that they made a mistake and then they were trying to say it was Loki that is actually a part of this and not WandaVision. I mean, at the end of the day, like, this, within the first 2 episodes, has already established much more of a heavier connection to both of those, with, like we said, with the multiverse being said word for word. I mean, don't be wrong, I see WandaVision has some connections, but yeah, it does seem like maybe there was something that wasn't really mentioned, and again, I don't know if it's just they didn't want to give anything away, but I mean, you're already mentioning there's other projects relating to it. I don't see what's so wrong in mentioning this relates to it as well.
Yeah. Absolutely agree with that. So 2 more comments before our last point. He says maybe Mobius is Howard Stark, not Nightmare. Okay. All right, Eric. And real quick, WandaVision definitely is a part of it since Wanda is confirmed to be a main character in the Multiverse of Madness. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just more so the show itself didn't really seem to have as much of a deep connection as I thought it would. But yeah, I mean, of course, her as a character very much ties into it.
The very last point I want to get into is the big reveal of Lady Loki. Let's start out with Jace.
So as far as look, when it happened, I think maybe it was because it's one of like the downsides to with people like us that have our theories, and then you hear them and get excited. Like when I heard you mention it last week, immediately I was like, all right, well that seems extremely plausible. I definitely see that going down. So it was kind of like I expected it when it happened. So it didn't really leave me in shock and awe. And it's also kind of tough because I don't really know, as much as I love to say like I am very well versed in a lot of the like comic stories and cartoons and all that type of stuff. I'm not that familiar with female Loki and like her story, so to speak, other than that she's just, another variation of Loki, of course. So it's tough to say like what I'm really trying to anticipate here. My biggest thing is like I am concerned and worried that all of a sudden this is going to start to flip and turn of like, hey, check out how female Loki is just better than male Loki in like every regard without trying in any way, shape, or form, and that they're trying to like, all of a sudden a whole nother discussion, right? And I mean, I'm cool with her like still being there. I just want them to be equals. Like at the end of the day, just make it where like they're very, very competitive with one another, and just when you think one has the upper hand, the other one starts to hold their own a bit.
Dan.
So yeah, I agree with a lot of what Jay said. Since you and I talked about that theory, I was like, okay, yeah, it's probably going to be female Loki. And I also didn't know much about her. I don't know much about the comics in general. I actually don't even know if I heard of her until the discussion of Loki. And also I was spoiled on it. So literally somebody put it in their thumbnail and then somebody put it on Twitter and I was spoiled by it. So that dropped, my anticipation for it and my excitement for it. And when I found out, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Plus the same thing with Evan Peters and WandaVision, that was spoiled for me as well. So I wasn't as excited at the end of that episode as everyone else was. But yeah, so that's those are basically my thoughts. It was cool. That's probably why I'm not in love with the show so far, because I knew that already.
Okay, good points, both of you. Jace, I like how, what is it that you said about Lady Loki coming out of nowhere and just being this, hey, I'm strong, I'm stronger than you. I also have some thoughts about that. I hate when shows do that. Like, you have no right to be as powerful as you are. I don't even know you. You're not Thanos. Thanos had the right to beat the Hulk's butt at the very beginning of Infinity War. But you don't have the right to do this to Loki yet. I would like to see a power struggle dynamic between the two in episode 3. We might see it. I hope we see it. And if we don't, I will be a little disappointed. And Dan, I'm so sorry you got spoiled, bro, because right after I saw the show, I think I know the YouTube video that you're talking about that had it in their thumbnail. So that was something. But I want to touch on a theory I have because of the end credits of this show. And I've seen some videos, so I can't take complete credit for this, but Lady Loki is actually credited as Sylvie. Did you guys catch that at all?
No, I haven't been watching the credits for this at all that much, really.
Okay, well, I don't think it's the main credits, but it's one of the the Spanish dub credits.
Okay.
Has Lady Loki credited as Sylvie, and I did some research on it after I saw somebody say that in a YouTube video. So Sylvie Lushman, not Lushman, it's Sylvie Lushton, is a Marvel character from Earth 616, so the main timeline. And Sylvie Lushton becomes Enchantress. She was a regular human in Oklahoma, and that's where the apocalypse happens, is in Oklahoma. In the comics, the Asgardians end up making their new home in Oklahoma. And Loki ends up giving Sylvie Lushton her powers. And she becomes the new Enchantress. Only to find out in the comics, that she was a creation of Loki himself.
Like before he gave her powers, she was just a creation of him?
Yes.
So then what was even the point of manifesting her without powers in the first place?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like if he just made, so like they're trying to say like Loki created her entirely, like he brought her into existence.
Yeah, it's hinted at in the comic books.
Well, because that's what I mean. So like if he just like brought her to life, then what was even the purpose of bringing her to life without powers if you knew at some point in time you were just going to give her powers?
I'm pretty sure the comics go in depth about that, Jason. This is just a general.
That was the first thing that came to my head. But otherwise, no. What I will say is because that is totally a side point. Man, that is a really cool thought. And actually, no, I totally didn't notice that from the credits. What I did notice was that on IMDb, I believe I was looking at a couple things, and I just saw her credited as the variant, right? And I thought they were just going to stick with that for a little bit and maybe avoid some like spoilers or something like that instead of just calling her female Loki or Lady Loki, because I think what the technical term is in the comics. But I'm not going to lie, I like that a lot more as far as her being Enchantress. Maybe, just maybe, you notice how when he goes like, Loki calls her Loki before she reveals herself. And the guy's like, oh, don't call me that. Maybe that's why. It's because maybe she's not Loki.
She's not Loki. And there's some sort of magic happening that's confusing people and making her think that she is Loki. Maybe to get the that little scent off of her. Like, I am not Loki. I am Sylvie, the Enchantress. This is just a theory. But I don't want people to be looking after Sylvie the Enchantress. I want them to be looking after Loki. So if there, by any chance, happens to be any more Loki variants, they're going to be looking after him before they look after me.
That's a valid point.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So I got one other question that at least ties into like with variants of Loki, just for what it's worth. I'm a little confused as to how they even exist. And this is what I mean. If there is only one sacred timeline, if there is not currently a multiverse, how are there other variants of Loki like that are so distinctly different? You know what I mean? Like to the point where they showed one that was like a monster. They showed one that was like, it was Loki, but he looked like a completely different person though. It just makes me wonder, like, okay, I understand if Loki himself stepped off his set path, right, I get it, right? Like this one did. But how are any of them that different if they're not already from a different universe? Like,
yeah, because if it's one sacred timeline, then every single variant of Loki would just be the same Tom Hiddleston Loki.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Jace, Marvel's not perfect. I can't come up with, so like, and it's funny, but in all seriousness, I can't come up with a reason why it's like that. I think that's a legit mistake.
Yeah, exactly right. Because I tried to give the benefit of the doubt at first, like the monster one. I'm thinking maybe there was some like Asgardian experiment that wasn't supposed to happen that led him to being like that or something. But I mean, then they showed like a picture of one that I don't know who it was, but it didn't seem like it was Tom Hiddleston at all. And it was just like, well, how do we get this then? And then the same thing, I thought, like, how would we even have a female version of it? If it doesn't seem like him putting on a facade of a female. It's like he just seems like she really seems like she actually is a female. So I think that's why I like the whole Enchantress thing even more, because if she really is that, then that does explain, no, she's not actually a variant of Loki. She is her own thing. She's the Enchantress.
You're right. Thinking about how every variant of Loki, you give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe something happens where in that timeline they went through some Asgardian experiments. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. In what way does he then switch genders?
Right. I mean, heck, even at one point Mobius says about how some of them have different powers. How? Because again, they should be a variant of what starts as the same Loki.
Yeah, Jace, I think you're hitting on the head that I think this is a mistake that Marvel made, and maybe they'll correct it, but a mistake nonetheless. Dan,
or maybe it's them hinting that the multiverse already exists and they just don't want anyone to know within the MCU.
the sacred timeline's a lie. Anyway, Dan, do you think that was a mistake? What are your thoughts, real quick, on the different Lokis and how it doesn't make sense how they're so different? Because if there is one sacred timeline, they should all just be Tom Hiddleston's.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I feel like then there's a multiverse. There's been a multiverse this whole time, and maybe the sacred timeline is a fake thing. So that goes more into Jason's theory. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like to say that Marvel made a mistake, but I mean, I know they make mistakes, but yeah.
It's more so. I don't know if it'd be maybe a mistake as much as they're like trying to subliminally lay the groundwork. You know what I mean? Like they're like, hey, we're putting it in front of your face. We're just not telling you. But like, but you can connect the dots yourself or read between the lines if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
Before we close out, guys, let me get to some comments.
Yeah.
My brother. Yeah, I just looked, and Mobius does have white hair, and female Loki has blonde. Okay. You were right, Jace. You were right. I'm okay. I'll give it to you.
I won't beat you up about it. I'm not one of those people just like, I told you.
Hey, you can. Just so you know, you can.
All right, fine. I told you.
Art with horror. Hey, it's Art here. Hey, Art. I hope you're here, but thanks for passing by, man. Eric, my theory wheels for this series didn't really start turning until this stream. Oh, so happy to hear that, man. So happy. Jace, we got to have you on again because you got some awesome theories.
Yeah, Jace.
I would be more than happy to.
Gotta delete YouTube and Instagram every week the night before these shows, then reinstall it after you've seen the episode. That's what I've done for WandaVision to avoid spoilers. In all seriousness, there have been some YouTube channels that did spoil them in their thumbnails, so I don't blame you for that, Eric. I don't. I think they will explain that over time in the MCU. I think they're talking about the Loki, the different Lokis not making sense. I think they will explain that. Okay, hopefully, I want them to. And the last comment, anything after this, guys, will not be said. So, can explain that Ralph Boner being Quicksilver from Fox. What?
I think he hand in that. I think it's so that can explain Ralph Boner being Quicksilver from Fox. I think is.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this Loki live stream. I want to hit it over to Jace. Jace, talk a little bit about your channel and what you do.
Sure. Well, so just as it says on the screen, right, by all means, Burja Rocar, check it out. I do very much episodic reviews myself in a different format than this, which is why I was so excited to hop over here and talk about it differently. But I think if you enjoy talking about the show, very much I think you'll enjoy as far as the breakdown reviews that I happen to have over there. And there's, I would say, a lot of MCU show coverage that I do over there, as well as plenty of other movies and other stuff for what it's worth. But if you're a superhero fan, Star Wars fan, all that type of good stuff, then you'll like the channel. Check it out.
Awesome, Jace. Definitely check his channel out. He's not lying. I met you, I think, in a live chat from Sean's videos, and I went to your channel, and that was the moment I fell in love with your content, bro. And here you are now on my channel. And Dan, you're going to be here every week. People know you, but I'll give you the floor for a second too, bro.
Hi, I'm Dan from the Upside Dan. Make sure you follow me. I just did the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard and a bunch of Conjuring reviews. And yeah, definitely check out Jace and John's channel, which you're on. So subscribe if you haven't. Yeah.
All right. So thank you guys for being here. And Jace, we got to have you back on, man. We got to have you back on because your theories are something crazy. And those philosophical discussions we got in while Dan was gone, Dan, you got to check that out after the stream.
Well, all right, Jace. It's been a pleasure being on, man. I mean, just genuinely thank you guys for having me on. I hope it's been pleasurable for everyone to watch. And yeah, I'll be more than happy to join on whenever you guys would like to have me.
Awesome. Absolutely. We will keep in touch then, my friend. All right, then. So that was the end of our Loki live stream, and I want to say that. Give me a second, guys. I apologize for this. But yeah, man, I'm so happy to have you as my co-host and being able to talk about Loki. We're like the two biggest Marvel fans in like the short circle of friends that we have, aside from, you know, Jace and some. But we love talking about this stuff, and I can't think about having a better co-host, man. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, and right back at you.
All righty then. But if you haven't already, like this video, share this video with family and friends, and subscribe to my channel. Till next time, movie fans.